Spoiler alert, it didn't start with your kids, it goes all the way back to your childhood, even if you had a happy childhood like me. Imagine it's already enough pressure for us to feel good enough as moms, but then there's the additional pressure of either already your current job or business, or where you feel like you want to go, and it's stopping you, like, because most of this childhood patterns rewiring is not a DIY, it is subconscious mind. I don't care how smart your logical brain is, you're not perfect. Congratulations. welcome to the club. And also, how is that going to be helpful for you going forward? How is that going to serve the people you're meant to serve and help? It's not about perfection, is actually the lowest standard. Because hi, and welcome to the Zen Supermom podcast. The episode today is for you if you feel like an imposter, like a fraud, because the fact that you cannot keep it together and you cannot be patient and calm with your kids and you end up yelling at them or stressing and burning out, it makes you feel like, well, how am I supposed to do it in my job or in my dream job that I want to transition to if I'm doing this at home? So this episode is specifically for any teachers, coaches, especially parenting coaches or mindfulness experts and psychologists and psychiatrists and therapists, because on the outside in your professional life, either people are commenting you for being like so calm, cool, collected, and everybody's thinking, oh wow, you have it all figured out. Or maybe you don't. I've worked with a lot of teachers who were losing their patience also in the classroom, which made them feeling so guilty, so terrible. And also, I have lots of women in my scope who are telling me, well, before kids, I had a career, but now that I have kids and I'm doing all of these like parenting revelations also about my own childhood and my own self-development and awareness, I'm growing. I don't want to go back to that job. I feel like I have a bigger mission and maybe I want to become a coach and I want to be inspiring and helping other moms. But this is blocking them because they're feeling, how can I lead anybody else? I feel like such a fake because I'm telling them to do something I'm not able to do at home. How can I help somebody be calm and not burn out and have all these patient skills and parenting skills if I'm still like yelling, stressing, or giving my kids the silent treatment and no boundaries and stuff, right? So this episode today is going to be for you because we will talk about it. What needs to get done, right? Because don't worry, there's a way. Hi, I'm Alena. I call myself often a mommy tantrum specialist because I'm no longer ashamed to admit that I used to be specialist at having mommy tantrums and yelling at my daughter as early as when she was 1 year old. And so I know exactly how it feels to be like pretending, faking, hoping nobody's going to see underneath that perfect facade of perfectly collected Zen person. But behind the closed doors, like for me, it was a big mess. No matter how hard I tried, no matter how many parenting techniques, no matter how much like psychology about kids I was reading, no matter all the mindfulness practices and my self-care and everything that I tried to do, it was not working. So I have a lot of compassion, not only for all the moms who are struggling with this, but then also especially with moms for whom it's a problem regarding their professional life, because all these skills that you feel like you're lacking with your kids, they are required also for your work. And I know from my own example, before I had my daughter, I was just finishing my corporate job and I was starting my coaching business, but that was about career development. That was career coaching for expatriate women who wanted to climb up the ladder and who wanted to get into leadership positions, because this was something I did. So I didn't have any like fraud or fake feelings about that because I was coming from a position of somebody who did that. And on top, my leadership position was then in human resources. So I felt like, okay, I know what I'm talking about. I did it not only for myself, but I also help other people in the corporate context before. So I felt okay doing this as a coaching business. But then Then I had my whole epiphany about the parenting, and that parenting is not just about parenting the kids, but reparenting myself first. And the whole story, it's in my content. It's for sure in this podcast as well, how I came to these realizations and life-changing moments, which led me then to want to rethink my coaching business. And I decided, like, I want to work with moms. I want to help them stop yelling, because, and even like clean up the roots, because this is not just about yelling. And even if you're too nice mom and you never yell, but you're burned out and resentful and like, why is everybody like, this is not fair because I do everything for everybody. Nobody is doing anything for me, and this is not fair. And why am I the only one who's spending all the time and energy and nobody else cares and I'm alone and la da 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 da. So it just goes much further than just yelling, right? So I knew that for me, when I started unwrapping, uncovering and realizing like, oh my goodness, this is not just that I'm stupid because I cannot memorize some parenting scripts. Like, there's so much more going on, and it already happened, and it was impacting my life even before I became a mom. So in that moment, I felt like I want other moms to know about that. I want them to start like getting the help and get the healing as well, because it's like everybody should know it's not your fault, right? And there is a help. But in these early stages, I was still kind of like wobbly in my own healing and practice. I was still nervous, like around my daughter. I was not maybe yelling, but I was raising my voice, and I was still feeling like the victim, still feeling like the hyperachiever, controller, perfectionist, that everything needs to be like tight, not enjoying my time with my daughter because my to-do list came first. So in these early stages of like where I wanted to do the transition from corporate women, career-oriented coaching, flipping it into helping moms, it was wobbly and it was not working. And my business was like, it was squeaking. I was not able to talk to these problems, because I felt wherever I would raise some topic, I felt not sick in my body, but there was a part of me who was like, who are you to talk about it? Yes, you're not yelling, but you're still there in the mud of it, right? And this is what I hear from lots of women who come to me for help. In the trainings and in the yelling breakthrough, or they're sending the emails, they're sending me emails with feedback afterwards from these podcast episodes as well. And they're kind of like shy to admit, like, hey, I'm here as a mom, but also I'm a teacher. Or, hey, I need help with my kids, but also I'm a parenting coach. And so this is a double hit. It's like double pressure. Imagine it's already enough pressure for us to feel good enough as moms, because we feel we have this responsibility towards those most precious things. Like, we would give our lives for them, right? For our kids. But then there's the additional pressure of either already your current job or business, or where you feel like you want to go, and it's stopping you. Like, how can I start being a parenting coach? I just spoke with a mom, I think this was earlier this week. She was telling me, yeah, I already have like one kind of business, but what I'm thinking about, because I learned so much through being a mom, I want to be helping moms, and I want to build a community, and I want to start helping them, because I was struggling so much at the beginning. So I want to help them so that they don't have to struggle so much. But I'm still yelling at my kids. It still makes me mad when my kids don't respect the boundaries, when they laugh in my face, when I'm trying to help them at school and instead they turn around and mock my accent, right? This is like turning it around. So this is what they're telling me at the beginning. And then it's really interesting, because then the conversation shifts from that surface level, the first kind of like a symptom, the first surface level problem of, I want to stop yelling at my kids, and I want them to listen to me better and cooperate more without being so defiant and so strong-willed and stubborn. And the conversation suddenly shifts into the deeper healing. And like, who do I need to be to not only help my kids and be a healthy example for them on how to manage big emotions and how to find the motivation within, not because somebody's pushing you or nagging you 1,000 times a day about doing this or that, but how to foster that and like nurture that inner motivation and kindness and respect, how to actually earn it without forcing it by fear or punishment. But then also, who do I need to be able to lead all the other women or men, whomever we want to work with, who are waiting for somebody to lead the way as well because they are lost themselves, right? How can I show up for my community, for my clients, for my people who need my help, right? So it's kind of double pressure because you need to feel you're like desperately trying to prove to yourself that you can feel good enough about yourself as a mom, but also good enough about yourself in your professional life as a coach, therapist, teacher. Yeah. That's why the pressure is very high. And so that usually triggers the judge in the head as well, that has some expectations that are super high. And you're usually, if you're listening to me right now, the chances are that your own judge, the inner critic in your head, is probably even stronger than anybody who could ever judge you outside. And this is the trauma protection mechanism, right? And let me know if that's true, but it usually happens to those of us who were very much judged and criticized as kids. And so now we build such a strong protection mechanism in our head. And I know it for myself. I used to be my strongest judge. Yeah. And it was meant to keep me safe, like whip me into shape, kind of like I need to be hard with myself because that's how I will get the best out of myself, become the best version of myself. And also the trauma flip side of it was, I'm so scared of being criticized by others that I will rather criticize myself to my grave just to make sure that nobody else will criticize me, or that their voices, their critical voices, will not be as loud as mine. So kind of like this self-torture, this masochistic drive just for the sake of self-preservation and just keeping myself not free, because that was not free from judgment, because I was my worst critic, you see. And let me know if you are experiencing or if you're noticing something similar, if you now start to think about it and go within, because this is very common. If you would be nodding like, yeah, that sounds exactly like me, then please know you're not alone. That's why I know. If this was just me, like this podcast wouldn't have to exist, right? Like I'm not here to just talk to myself, but that's based on the feedback. That's what I hear so often. So please know you're not alone. And also this is good news because at least now we are starting to identify the roots of it. Okay. So not only as a mom who cannot stay calm and patient with the kids because they are not respecting boundaries, they are not listening to you, and when you're running out of time, like no other parenting technique is working, or whatever, bedtime or meal times, school time, like there are fires kind of like trigger areas all over your life with your kids. What you need to do is to heal that and go within and heal it with your roots first, because those parts, and this is all that this Zen Supermom podcast is about, is helping you find the roots and heal it there. Because spoiler alert, it didn't start with your kids. It goes all the way back to your childhood, even if you had a happy childhood like me. But then, additionally, if you're a professional mom who's either dreaming about or already in the job or a business of helping others, you will need to start working with that super strong judge in your head, okay? Because what would you tell, just play a game with me, what would you tell your clients or like your kids at school if you caught them having this harsh, critical voice and beating themselves up, thinking like, no, I can't do this, and I suck at this, I'm stupid, I will never be able to do that, and these kids are always better than me, they're smarter, and I'm just like, I give up because I can't. What would you tell your client or a kid at school that you're supposed to take care of? What would you tell them if you heard them saying this? Yeah. What would you tell them if, yeah, I'm trying hard, but nothing is working. So, yeah, so I cannot actually do what I like. I cannot, because then I don't do it perfectly and I'm still failing. So I'm just going to shrink. I'm not going to even try. I'm just going to do either something different or much easier, smaller, because I can't have these big dreams. What would you tell them? Yeah, I thought so. You wouldn't be telling them, yeah, you're right, go back to your corner and cry. You wouldn't tell them that. Now flip it. So what would you tell your child if your daughter or son, but let's play it. If you have daughter, think about your daughter. If your daughter came to you and she told you, Mama, I have a dream, but I suck. And I don't think I'll ever make it. I think people will see me for who I am, that I'm a fake. What would you tell her? What would you tell her that you know it's true? What would you tell her about her essence, about who she is, even without trying? What would you tell her about mistakes? What are mistakes? What is the failure? What role does it play in her life, in your daughter's life? Great, you see, you're so smart. Full of wisdom, right? It's so easy to do it for others, and especially our loved ones, right? So now, final ninja shift. You can already see it coming. You know where I'm going next with this, right? It's predictable. It's so simple to just turn that mirror and tell that to yourself. This is part of your reparenting yourself. Giving yourself the grace of knowing there are no mistakes, there is no failure. You either get the result you wanted or you get the lesson you needed. Nobody's perfect. Nobody is here to put herself on a pedestal. We are all humans, and in overcoming our obstacles and difficulties, that's how we grow. And this is then what you will help the people you're supposed to help. That's how you'll be able to guide them, because you will know how you got over your obstacles, right? If I was born totally Zen, in a super Zen family, I could not be doing this job because I would not have much compassion for the people who are struggling. I can see it in my husband. He grew up in very, very difficult conditions in a favela, in a crazy country. And yet, he had an amazing mom. He grew up trauma-free. He doesn't have any of these blah, 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 blah in his head. He's super strong mentally, which is funny, right? Because I grew up in so much easier, richer, more comfortable environment and family, and yet I was the broken one, really, right? But my husband, he had no compassion for people. That's why I never even felt comfortable telling him that I have problems staying calm with our daughter, because I felt so ashamed. Because from the stories he was telling about his mom, she felt like, really, honestly, female Dalai Lama, and so wise. I was like, wow, how is that even possible? So that's why I was keeping it a secret for such a long time, that I was yelling at our daughter. I was like, oh my goodness, he's going to divorce me. He's going to take our daughter and run away with her. Like, what the heck is wrong with me? But that's the point, is where I'm getting with this. Like, that's what I was saying. He had no compassion for people who were struggling mentally, because he was like, what? This is easy. You just do this, you think this, and you're done, and it's perfect. I'm like, oh yeah, right? Okay. He couldn't be in this job that I'm doing. He couldn't be helping other people overcome mental obstacles, because his mom cleared it for him long before he had to learn it, right? So talking to yourself, giving yourself the grace and compassion, and seeing the gifts and opportunities in the struggle. You're not perfect. Congratulations. Welcome to the club. And also, how is that going to be helpful for you going forward? How is that going to serve the people you're meant to serve and help? And as I was saying, it sounds very simple, but it's not easy, I know, because that's actually the most difficult piece. Is making it happen. And it's about accepting that you will need some help with that. Because most of this childhood patterns rewiring is not a DIY. It is subconscious mind. I don't care how smart your logical brain is. We are talking about if you cannot control your emotional impulses, That's a sign of your subconscious mind and the fight or flight, like nervous system, core nervous system response. That's not going to go away by you training your logical brain only. Yeah. So that's why for example, I never work with a coach who doesn't have a coach. I never worked with a therapist who didn't have a therapist, their own. I want to work with people who have the same values as me, who don't see themselves as gods and preacher and amen, I know best and listen to me because I'm already enlightened. No, I don't believe there is actually a final point. My belief is that we are work in process until the final day when we die. And continuous growth and seeing, I've been on my trauma healing for the last 6 years. I can see there are layers coming left and right. And as my daughter keeps growing up, there's still more and more that I need to be healing up, because through her childhood, I remember the memories just jump out of nowhere as I watch her play, as I watch her talk, as I watch her share some experiences, right? It just comes up. I need to keep using all the tools I learned. I'm still work in progress. I will always be. And so I want to keep working with people who have the same values and who understand this is not once and I'm done. And that's why I'm sharing this with you, because I want you to use this as an argument for the judge in your head who's telling you one day when I'm like this, then I can start my coaching business as a parenting coach, for example. Yeah. One day when I'm like, I haven't yelled for 2 years, then I can feel good about doing this or being a teacher, whatever. Yeah. It will always be a work in progress. It's not about the final destination. It's about making incremental, tiny little, like, progress over perfection. Yeah. It's not about perfection is actually the lowest standard because in the pursuit of perfection, you will beat yourself down and you will not even try as much as you can, actually. So incremental progress, asking for help, because people who are really on their healing path, they understand you cannot do all of this by yourself, especially with the central nervous system and subconscious mind. You cannot do it yourself from the same parts of the brain. And focusing on, this is really what helped me the most, that mind shift. Well, what would I tell my daughter if she came up with this ugly limiting belief and like depreciative, I don't even know the English word, like the diminishing herself, the self-talk that pushes her down. What would I tell my daughter if I heard her speak to herself like this, right? So these little things would be my invitation for you to start just being curious about and start experimenting with. Okay? Because if there's one thing I learned in my 11 years of coaching and having it as a business, this is the one thing I know for sure. If there's a part of you who has the dream, it means there is already a part of you who knows it is possible for you. So if you're dreaming about becoming a coach, or if you want to become a teacher, if you want to become better at what you're doing, if you want to stop feeling like a fake, then there's a part of you who already knows, yes, it is possible for you. Because like, I would not have a dream of becoming a scuba diver. Like, that's not, I don't want to go there. I don't know why, randomly just a thought in my head. Like, that's one of the things I have no desire in going into. So I'm not going to pursue that. But everything that I ever felt a sparkle about, that I saw it or I experienced it and I was like, wow, this is it. I'm going to do that. It either became my job or it became a part of my job, or I have it as a hobby on the side because it just lights me up. It is part of my life in one way or another. Yeah. And the same is true for you. You would not have that spark in you when you think about it if there was not already a future version of you existing it, living that life. all it takes now is about you understanding it's a journey. It's not a destination. It's going to be a process, not a one-off trick when just like, give me the parenting script so that I can stop yelling at my kids and I can feel good about being a parenting coach. Doesn't exist. It will be a deep work within that will be part of your entire life. And isn't that wonderful? The moment you find the fun, the ease, the lightness of it, and you stop taking it and taking yourself so seriously, it's going to go actually much faster. That's the irony of it. The moment you stop pushing for it and you just start celebrating the daily wins and progress and taking any mistakes or failures as learning opportunities, so that you just, as long as you don't repeat the same thing twice, it was not a mistake, it was learning, right? As long as you have this mindset, you're going to get there. And I'm so excited because if you watched my previous podcast episode, it was about my moonshots. So like, what's that big dream that if I tell that to people, they would even laugh that I'm crazy because it's impossible. So my moonshot was helping 1 billion people break that generational trauma they don't even realize they have, right? And the funny thing is, as I started sharing it, I started hearing intentionally, like people started coming to me telling me, well, actually, I would like to be a coach. Or I heard them exactly in those assessment calls. I heard more and more moms talking about it. Like, yes, I'm here for my kids, but also actually, when I start asking them, well, but you're not just a mom, this is not impacting you just with your kids, but what else is going on? And they started, more and more of them started admitting, well, actually, yeah, this is, I want to go into helping women more. I want to start some kind of business through this, right? So this is the fun thing that happens. The moment you claim your dream, the moment you start taking actions towards it, it will start attracting more and more people. And this is what's happening even with Zen Supermom right now. So yeah, you might have already heard me talk about it in some previous podcast episodes. 4 of our previous clients did the same trauma training that I did, and all of my existing coaches. And I'm now training them further to become fully operational Zen Supermom coaches as of September. They'll be coaching our clients. And there will be more. Like I'm already collecting a list of candidates for the next round of the trauma training they will do over in the US in the trauma school. I already have people who are interested in the next cohort. So this is how the ripple effect grows. This is how it becomes bigger. This is how it becomes a snowball. That once you help yourself and you heal yourself, and maybe if that's part of your passion and you realize, well, wouldn't it be fantastic for me to help others the same way? This is how your impact then multiplies. And it's just so worth it to see. Yeah. This is how you can then also, final invitation, this is how you can turn any pain, any shame from the past, how you can turn it into a purpose. Because that's what I'm doing, right? All the pain that I felt for my mom, for all her dreams and things she couldn't have materialized, like she couldn't live it. She died too young and it was too hard on her, and she already did better than my grandparents, but still she struggled and suffered a lot. And I saw her. And then I was struggling, not to the extent she did, but I was struggling. And I felt very much guilty for what I did to my daughter when she was so little. But I decided to just transform, like the alchemist, the transmute, put it in the heat, this ugly thing, take it through the heat, take it through the fire, and just the phoenix rising from the ashes, just make something beautiful come out of it, and something that helped not only me to make sure that my daughter grows up as much trauma-free as possible, but then also start this little snowball of healing effect throughout. And this is exactly what you can do with your life and with your pain, with your shame and guilt. Wouldn't it be amazing if you healed it and then you started your own snowball and ripple effect of being able to heal at so much deeper level, even the people you are meant to touch and impact in your life? Yeah, That's what I want you to focus on the next time you feel guilty or like an imposter. Yeah. Because you have a choice. You can continue going that downward spiral, beating yourself up, shaming yourself, having that even stronger inner critic than anybody could ever call you out. Or this can be the moment when you decide, enough. I've had enough. This is not taking me where I want. This is not helping anybody. I refuse to keep that childhood pattern of like shaming and criticizing myself into becoming a better version of myself. Like psychology has already proven that is not the best way. Like punishing and shame is not the best motivational approach. For sure, not the most effective. So enough. I wouldn't do that to my kids. I wouldn't do that to my students. I will stop doing it to myself. And I will start treating myself not only like the best friend, but like the parent I deserve to have. I will start treating myself with unconditional love and compassion. Doesn't mean I will become ambition-less, like a void person, couch potato, just like indulging in my mistakes and bad qualities. No. But once the ambition is driven from your purpose, from unconditional love for yourself, once you start talking to yourself like the mom you wish you had, just watch what's going to happen. Yeah. So, I hope my intention for this podcast episode was to, again, like just throw out there all of my dirty laundry kind of things, all of my most shameful, guilty moments from the past, because I know that by breaking taboos, by not being silent, not pretending that I have it all figured out, I was always perfect, I was always amazing, not pretending anymore, and also not wallowing here in my sorrow and stuff, I'm in a much better place. So that's what gives me the confidence to actually talk to you and tell you a few steps ahead of you maybe on that healing path, but just to show you the way. It is possible. It is possible for you too. If you've been here to the end of this podcast episode, it means there is a part of you who knows it is possible for you too. So please take this as an inspiration. Make that decision right now to stop that inner critic, stop that judge, start celebrating all of your wins. Go reach out and get the help for your own healing at the roots, not just the symptoms and parenting scripts. You know you have to go much deeper inside. And then show up perfectly imperfect for the people you are meant to serve, because they are waiting for you. You don't have to be perfect to be able to help them already now. All it takes, you need to be few steps ahead. You can't be in the same mess as they are, because then you will be drowning together. But as long as you're a few steps ahead, you can go. This is exactly what I'm doing. Am I perfect? Am I Dalai Lama material? No. But am I yelling still at my daughter? Am I like burning out? Am I transitioning my stressed out controller perfectionist hyperachiever to her? No. I don't see that in her anymore. I managed to unwire that. And that's what I want for your kids. And that's the impact I want you to have on the people you're meant to serve as well. So now go and do it. They're waiting for you. I'll see you in the next episode of the Zen Supermom podcast. Bye, Mom.